welcome all of you to the Uganda Youth Dialogues. Well, for those who are just joining us today, we are Keza Psychology Center. We are a youth-led organization that basically exists to ignite, nurture, and sustain, you could say also impact individuals, communities, and companies to maintain a balance between mental, physical, and business health. We have interacted with challenges through our network of counselors, experience, and work. I hope we have all visited Humura Therapy. That is a site that has been on the poster. We have leveraged what we learned from broken family systems, culture, religion, financial well-being, childhood trauma, challenges like addiction, challenges in marriages, friendships, and managing relationships. And we use a scientific approach to kind of counter these issues. And Uganda Youth Dialogues is a tool we are using to popularize some of the urgent issues that we find in society. And we also seek to share in order through the culture of sharing ideas, we hope to build a common identity. I would like to give a very brief background. One time we talked about decolonization pathways on Cruise FM, and I'm expecting to have West Gebanyaji from Cruise FM joining us today on this show. And we have undermined the extent to which we have lost identity. We forget the impact of history on the ways that we live our lives. Ever since the year 1894, Uganda was declared
Katunja, you're not audible. Hello? Katunja, I think your network is breaking.
Yes, hello. Hello. Am I clear now?
Hello? Yeah, better.
Yes, am I clear? All right, I've changed network, so I'm sorry for that. I was just giving a brief background that ever since 1894 to the year 1962, for over 68 years, we were under the rule of the Englishman, copying the way he talks, imitating the way he dresses, even maybe probably the way he walks. Probably we even changed our habits on how we visit the toilet, just to mimic this person who was of a different color. Well, I could say historically, Africans were too welcoming for their own good. And then we said we got our own independence. The year 1962, I was not yet born, but I see videos of flags being hanged high up, that it is finally the time that we can control our own destiny. 1962, and now it is 60 years down the road, and we are still under the thumb of the neo-colonial power. Right now, we have had the invisible hand of neo-capitalism, you could say. We have assessed the impact of organizations like the International Monetary Fund, organizations like the World Bank, the United Nations. We know the tools that the colonial powers use to keep a thumb over their former colonies. For those who have done their history, we understand that these indirect tools are still being used to control our finances, and because of that, our administrative autonomy, even be it our so-called political independence, is merely an illusion. The purpose to why we're here, to why you are here, is to understand by which identity, who determines an identity by which we live our lives, who determines which discussion is priority. If we are to consider all the challenges in the post-COVID era, is this the topic that we must be talking about? However, we are confronted with now another social dynamic that attempts to change the way we live our lives, that we are at a threat, that either your child or grandchild may adopt a behavior that we refer to as an African. For those who have been for today's topic, we all know sexual orientation and gender identity has been a terminology and a scholarly terminology that has been invented. by those that we are yet to know and identify, because we clearly do not yet know who exactly is on the head of this campaign and what their intentions are. Some say it is population control, others say it is Illuminati. But one thing we know is that for the first time in history, man is trying to reinvent the way nature operates. That positive with a positive cannot repel. We are here to learn from you. But one thing is for sure, is that we are responsible for the way that we live our lives. Today, I would like to welcome all of you for giving this conversation a priority. Logos, Marion, and everybody in the house. I see a good proportion of our moderators today is in the house already. I would like to welcome you. Part of our panel, she has been here with us before. We talked about issues ranging from parenting and relationships. Priscilla Trina would like to welcome you. She is a clinical psychologist. We are also joined by Mr. John Vianney Ayebale, a politician who has sought to serve in the local governance structure of Uganda. Now, Mr. Felix Atrine, I see you have a burning opinion. I'm going to share with you a few minutes of my icebreaker to see what you have to say. Mr. Felix, kindly unmute. Oh, I'm going to assume that that was a mistake. But feel free to raise your hand in case you have an opinion. We shall be engaging our panelists. But in case the mic is busy, you can always engage us in the comment section. Contacts are being shared on our WhatsApp group. And also Humura Therapy, which is our psychosocial support platform that we hope that is a tool that we use to enable the community combat all matters mental health. However, I would like to welcome you to the Uganda Youth Dialogues. Here we seek to form a common identity as Ugandans so that we can be accountable for generations to come. But first, I would like to really now invite and say hello to our first panelist, John Vianney Ayebale, please to the house.
Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm happy to join you today. My name is John Vianney Ayebale. I am a former candidate for LC5 chairperson for Kanungu district. I am also a student of law at Makerere University, currently in my third year. And I'll be happy to interact with you on this very topic. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Mr. Vianney, for that introduction. And could we also have a brief introduction from Ms. Atwine Priscilla?
Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, Priscilla, I can hear you.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Atwine Priscilla, as you have said already. They know my name. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm passionate about working with children who have gone through difficulties. To mention a few, trauma, for instance, child abuse, and separation of parents or divorce. That's where my passion is. And I'm glad that I'm part of this panel to look at this sensitive issue, especially in the African context. It is really sensitive. Thank you so much, Katun.
Yes, thank you very much, Twine Priscilla. Our third panelist has not joined us yet. That is Counsel Gwenje Deusdet, a lawyer and human rights activist. But I believe that she will join us as our process goes on. I would love to engage Ayevale John Vianney for the purpose that Denmark ideals. All right. I notice you're using a different identity. Yes. All right. So you could give us a few words as we begin. All right. All right. Please go ahead. Please go ahead.
Oh, it is a pleasure for me to be here, especially at a time when our country is struggling with trying to find out who is and who is not a homosexual, and what should be the consequences of a person who is found to be gay. I want to be very categorical here that homophobia or the hatred of homosexuals has no place in our society. As we start our debate, I want us to be very objective and not emotional. I want us to dissect opinions based on evidence and statistics, not how we feel, not on sentiments, and not on populism just because we want people to vote for us. No, we must be aware that we live in a society where there are bisexuals, heterosexuals, homosexuals, pansexuals, and so forth. So I want to call on all of us to be very objective, very wide-read, broad-minded, okay? And of course, to be as civil as we can. Thank you so very much.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Bwenje. Yes. I am detecting a little bit of disruption in our network quality, so I'm going to have to yes, thank you very much, Mr. Bwenje. I've captured it.
Yes.
For the purposes of our network quality, I'm going to request you to cancel your video. I sensed a bit of a breakdown, so maybe we can focus on audio so that our the other people on this platform can capture us very well. Thank you very much. Well, there it is, our panel, Miss Priscilla, Mr. John, and Council Bwenje. They did it, and I would love to thank all of you. Now, I'd offered a little bit of a background. Ever since 1894 to 1962, 68 years of being a British protectorate. And if we are to count from 1894 to the year 2022, those are 128 years of where Uganda has not yet gotten an opportunity, and it is not unique to only Uganda alone. Many African countries that were former colonies have faced this challenge. We have not yet had an opportunity to rewind the consequences of disrupting our social evolution. I am going to repeat that again. We have not yet had an opportunity to reverse the consequences of re-engineering the effects of our social evolution. Mr. Bwenje, I'm going to request you to mute. I'm getting feedback. Kindly mute your microphone. So, yes, thank you very much. So this is the spirit in which we are having this discussion today. And I have found national platforms to be a little bit shallow and not being foundational in this discussion. Because if we are to go to the basics, what is today's discussion about? Is it the individual's right over the community's right? Can the individual exist independent of the community? Can we undermine the effect of an individual's liberty over how it impacts the outlook of society and its functionality? We have had the illusion, because apparently LGBTQ has more of a marketing budget. We have had the illusion that every white person is on board with this, that as long as you're white, you are at harmony. But we see this campaign has even gone ahead to suppress religion, that some churches in some areas cannot even put up a cross in the word of undermining a specific society that has its own set of beliefs. people said it's an African, but even the leader of the Black Lives Matter movement is lesbian. Then we said that it is an African. And then people who are for LGBTQ will challenge us and say, Africans, Ugandans, especially those in Uganda, you had a king. You had a king that was, if you call it an atrocity, performing this atrocity. It was right embedded within your political system, way back in your history. And yet we have a burden of engineering society to ensure that we have a collective identity in achieving the same goal. Now I throw it back to you. I'm going to first engage Mr. Ayebale John Vianney. You have aspired to serve at a local governance structure. And here you have these divisions within the social fabric. Could you say a few words about what I have shared? And we can start our dialogue from there.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, sexual orientation, and more so if you're going to discuss the matter of being gay, being lesbian, in a local setup, in any society in Uganda, you already know the answer. You posed the question at the beginning and asked if your child, your daughter, came up with another girl and saying, this is my, I don't know, my man, my woman, what would you do? Imagine that in a local setup in any place in this country. First and foremost, let us accept that our society at this time, we are not yet even ready to entertain this conversation. In any case, we shouldn't even be having it, because I don't see the purpose of having it. Nature has been very kind to us and has given us its own setup. A man and a woman. That is very clear. If you want to come up with other objectives to say, you can be a man, but also you can be a woman. Let us be objective. You can be a woman, at the same time be a man. That discussion is not ready to be entertained by our local people in this country. That is for sure. Secondly, I would want to understand, because the people you interact with in any community in this country, they would even be shocked. Leave alone these who say that they have gone to school to acquire the white man's knowledge like me, who want to portray scenarios in a very complex manner by creating situations which never exist, but they want to create them. Let's say you have that, let us say you have that conversation with any local person in any society in this country. They are going to be shocked because they don't understand. When you say someone is a man and is a woman at the same time. So your question about whether I have had interaction with the people and the response I've gotten from them, the few snippets that you put in the public to test their knowledge, the few instances you try to investigate whether our societies are ready, the few times that you try to inquire whether such a thing, even in our traditional societies, existed, I haven't found any positive answer concerning this very fact. And if anyone is going to bring it to our country, if anyone is going to convince us that we accept the homosexuality, then it's going to have a harder task. It's going to first explain how nature has changed all of a sudden, not only nature, of course, how religion has changed, because even those who brought here religion have now turned against their own word, against their own Bible. Yeah. Those who brought the law, Council of Deus is going to tell you that it is their right. They have a right to do whatever they want with their with their body. It is their business. That's what they are going to say. But let us be very clear. If you have brought the law and you have told us in your penal code, which we never drafted, and you told us that if a man engages in any sexual activity with another man, then that is criminal. And at the same time, the same law which you brought, you again saying, let us revise it. Homosexuality is not a crime. So what changed? I would ask rather a philosophical question. Is right and wrong relative? Can something be right today, and after a few years, the same thing be wrong? Should it be that as a majority deviate from the thing that was right, and they rotate towards the corner where they believe that now it is wrong? Does it become wrong because the majority have said such a thing is wrong? Those are the questions we need to ponder about as we go about this debate. And for now, I'm going to stop there, Mr. Moderator. I don't know whether I have answered your question I would like to engage you on the issue of individual liberties. Where the contradiction comes in is as an individual, I have my own free will to pursue my own happiness with my single life, yeah, in a way, in whichever way I want. That once we suppress that intention, that we have abused the essence of humanity in itself. So they say that arresting a person who has these feelings is criminal. Yeah, we have seen some countries who have said it is discriminatory. Yeah, I have sometimes in school. I was in a school whereby just by merely being suspected, you are beaten up, and they say that here you're undermining human dignity. You are undermining human rights. Now you are a student of the law. You're studying the law. What do you have to say about that? Yes, I agree with you. All human beings have rights. They are fundamental rights. There are some fundamental rights, and indeed, such rights are inherent, which means they are not granted by anyone, not even the state, not even your mother, not even your father. For example, a right to life. You have a right to live, and no one is supposed to take away that right unless it is a decision of a competent court and fairly done. Now, those are what we call fundamental rights. But again, when we continue and investigate the notion of rights, we come to a conclusion that whereas people have rights, sometimes the rights can be misused. That's why we have, for example, Article 43 of the Constitution, that in enjoyment of your own rights, you should not disorganize other people, you know. But be that as it may, let us also investigate the notion of a right to do whatever you want with your body, a right to play sex the way you want. Yeah? If you have such a right, yeah, does it mean that indeed you misuse such a right? Let me ask you a question. There's what we call oral sex. If I asked the attendants here, is oral sex right? Definitely it is not right. Now, you are a homosexual. Your main sexual object, let me assume you are a man against a man, is your penis, and you are going to use your partner's what? Hands, mouth, or his anus, so to say. Then if you have such a right, tomorrow we are going to say, then...
Your network is...
Okay, am I back?
I sense the disruption in your network. Yeah, you're back.
Okay, but I was saying, if you have such a right to have the sexual encounters the way you want, a man to a man, you're using which instruments? Your hands, you're using your mouth, you're using the anus. Then we are going to reach a point where we are going to say, it is also my right to sleep with another age, because it is my body. I can decide how I use it. We are going to say, it is my right. I can sleep with my mother. I mean, my mother is of age. She can consent, and I can also consent. My father is going to say, it is my body. My daughter, it is her body. We are going to have sex. I'm going to reach a point and say, this is my cow, Bihogo. I like it so much. Good horns, you see? I can have sex with it. Those are the rights I'm talking about. You cannot have a natural gift and then you intend to misuse it and then invoke the notion of right. A right, anyway, the word right means, of course, right. Is it okay? Is it right? Now, you cannot use a right to defend a wrong.
All right, Mr. So what I'm capturing from you, Mr. Vianney, do societal rights supersede the rights of...
Thank you very much. Firstly, I want to use the African philosophy of Ubuntu to answer that question. But this African philosophy cuts across the world. The Ubuntu philosophy, we all know it, that a person is not an isolated individual. A person is because there is a community. They are going to give a defense and say, it is their body. They can choose to do what they want with it. It is none of your business. But let me tell you, we are everybody's business. Right from inception, it was two people who met, had sex, and it was a man and a woman. They had sex, and they formed you. They formed that embryo. They formed that child. That body you are calling yours, and you're saying it is no one's business. They formed it. Now, at birth, yes, they took care of that body until you were of age, 18 years. Some people, they are 30, they are still being catered for by their parents. So it is their business. So society has a stake in our bodies. It has a stake in what we do. Because, for example, let me tell you, once homosexuals, let me assume a man and a man, so to say they have engaged in their sexual activities. Of course, once they use their anus, the anus has no capability to maintain sexual activity. It is just a mere rectum whose purpose is only specified to pass waste. So once they have that sexual encounter, over time, the rectum is going to be loose. They are going to have serious medical problems, and they are going to flock to our hospitals. Now, the medical care that would have been used to cater for a malaria victim, to cater for a cancer victim, is now strained to cater for someone who would have avoided this by getting a very good, bootylicious, beautiful lady. You see? So society has stake. Society has concerns regarding the decisions we take. We cannot say society is excluded from these very decisions of homosexuals.
So lastly, Mr. John, I have seen the Speaker of Parliament use a very low tone when talking about this. In fact, a very tough and decisive man when he's moderating debates. But you was using a very humble tone when talking about this. We even saw our president, a very resilient military commander, be evasive on the first attempt Uganda tried to evade this law. Yet we have, I don't know, I've not traveled to India and China, but these are countries that are quite close-bordered. What do you have to say about this law tone that we use?
Firstly,
Firstly,
as you know, we are third world countries who are highly indebted and very poor, by the way. Now, that puts us rather in a precarious situation, because if you look at our financial budget, we need support. And again, who has the power? Who has the final say in the world of politics? That's the question we need to investigate. If you look at the Church of England, sitting, having a Bible on the table, with all the clear provisions against homosexuality, but voting 250 members voting that, yes, let us bless homosexuals. If you see a person of a pope, such a global leader, yeah, mincing words, struggling to define what is a sin and what is a crime, yeah, trying to defend issues that are even indefensible, yeah, trying to hide, is it a sin, is it a crime? But her jurisdiction, rather his jurisdiction is only in the church, so he should have only talked about sins, because he can't talk about crimes, because that's not his jurisdiction. But you see him struggling to defend such a matter. Now, you would have mercy to a person like our president. You'd have mercy to a person like the deputy speaker or the speaker. You'd have mercy to judges in Kenya. You'd have mercy to such people. Because the mantle, okay, those who support football and follow these clubs on Twitter, you look at a club on its Twitter handle, it can't be 1 week without posting such an agenda. All rights are no homophobia, no what. You have to inquire who has the final say in such world of politics. And that's why we are very endangered. That's why we must fight resiliently, that the political mantle needs to be shaken. We need to shake the world political order. Whether we have the capacity, that's the question we must investigate, and we must invoke our own power to fight very resiliently.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Mr. Ayebare, John Vianney. We heard from him. That was our first panelist, and we have gotten a grasp of your position. Now, I would really like to bring on to engage Council Bwenje with Dedit. Now, I was reading some literature. Yes, Mr. Bwenje, I was reading some literature. A certain writer, Yusuf Turachi, was arguing that homosexuality is incompatible with African moral values, and that it should be discouraged. Now, that is a position that I think we believe that the more vocal people share. If I say majority, maybe I could stand a risk of misrepresenting. And what I could gather from also the first presenter is that if we continue promoting LGBTQ, it is going to be at an expense, because every campaign has a cost. And this cost is going to be the breakdown of traditional values and social structures. Now, Council Bwenje, this is your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you so very much. Now, the Honorable LC5 chairman, LC5 candidate, former, talked about several things, very wrong things. Very wrong things. First of all, he makes affirmance to the Bible, to the Pope. But when you talk about the Bible and you want to use it as a basis for the condemnation of homosexuality, now, have you ever posed the question to yourself that what if God himself is a homosexual? Would you stop believing in him or her? What would happen if you knew that actually God has no wife or has no husband, or even God is a lesbian? Or so what would you do? Besides, have you ever pondered what if the Bible is just a mere storybook, a mere comedy book, which is not even true? So when we are trying to establish our stand on homosexuality, we should be very careful and not depend on books, on storybooks like the Bible. Because you cannot even show us.
Well, let me just react to that for now. Mr. Bwenje,
Yes.
let me react. Somebody in the comments is saying that what you're saying is blasphemous. It is out of, I think you're looking at the comment section, that
Okay,
that's profanity,
you see,
that's blasphemy.
blasphemy. There, you see, there in Uganda, the freedom of expression includes the freedom to oppose and to support religious opinions and to hold any opinion. I have a right to say that God does not exist, or if he exists, he is not relevant to me. Now, that is within the confines of my freedom of religion and worship, because the freedom of religion and worship also includes the freedom from religion and worship. Personally, as Gwenje, I do not believe in any God. I do not go to church or pray. I believe that I only have to work, eat, have sex, and die. Okay, there's no other thing. So when the gentleman talked about the Pope, and he was saying, what right does the Pope have in condemning in talking about homosexuality? Because he should only talk about matters of the church. But the same gentleman, I think, has forgotten that besides being the Pope or the head of the Roman Catholic Church, the Pope is also the head of state of the world's smallest nation, that is the Vatican City. So he has all the jurisdiction, all the locus standi to talk about homosexuality. And moreover, he said that although he believes that homosexuality is a sin, he was not sure whether it should be an offense. And we should all know that not every sin is an offense. For example, in our penal code, there is no offense called adultery, but it is a sin. It is one of the, one of the 10 commandments of the so-called God is against adultery. So we should, come to comprehend that religious leaders are also leaders. They are leaders in our society. So we should actually appreciate that they are the voice of the people. Okay? And the same gentleman talked about oral sex, that who says oral sex isn't right? So who told him that oral sex isn't right? I've not seen or I've not participated in any referendum or plebiscite in Uganda where people voted as to whether oral sex is right or not. I have a right to kiss the sexual organ of my sexual partner. That is my right, and no one can take it away from me. Okay, and what we should also know is that the individual interests, the individual human rights, the individual liberties must never be sacrificed at the altar of public interest. Okay, and I see matters of love are personal matters. Whom I have sex with is no one's business. Actually, as Wenje, I support people who want to be homosexuals to be so. I have nothing against it. I have nothing against it. What I do not support is involving minors or involving people under the age of 18, or even forcing adult people, or even paying them. That one I do not support, because if you are a man and you're so attractive, then men will come to you whether you want or you don't. And what we should also know, that there is no need at all and whatsoever for Uganda to enact a law against homosexuality. Because if you read our penal code, section 145 thereof talks about unnatural offenses and having sex in a way that is against the order of nature. But my question is, who prescribes the order of nature? Who says that this is how
I have a question for you,
we
Mr.
should have
Bwenje.
sex?
No.
Yes. Yes. Hello, I have a question for you, Mr.
Go on,
Bwenje.
please, go on. Please.
Well, I've been following keenly, and in your opening, you said that as an individual, I have a right to worship. Well, I do respect that. There were two parameters to this: is that there is under the rule of God, there is sin. Under the rule of man, there is an offense. Now you have eliminated the rule of God. That means you have subjected yourself to the rule of man. And right now, humanity's current experiment is democracy, where the majority have a bigger say on how things is. Do you believe that there has to be a certain social order? And why is it that now you are advocating something that alienates that social order? Is there something wrong with the current social order? And again, you have not yet attempted to touch its impact on how it is going to cost us on our traditional moral values. Could you react on that?
Please. Okay, fine. Now, God has no business on earth. This earth is for human beings. We must make decisions based on earthly. You see, what you cannot do, then don't even ask God to do it for you. When we say that homosexuality is it was brought by the white person, that is absolutely and fundamentally wrong. Because even before the whites came here in the 1880s, we were homosexuals. Homosexuality has no race. So we should not attribute homosexuality to a specific race. If you read articles by Professor Kamare, Professor Oroko Onyango, they show that even before the 1880s, the Bahima, the Batoro, the Rangi, the Achori were homosexuals. Okay, so let us be fair. Let us carry our own burdens. And then what we should also know is that
I'm sorry, Bwenje. I'm very sorry. Hello. Atwazaje Simon Peter. Admin, I would maybe request you to mute that user. Thank you, Simon. Mr. Bwenje, let me allow Anthony only a question. Hello, Simon Peter.
Can I be protected?
Your microphone.
Am I protected?
Yes, you are. Yeah, it's okay.
Am I protected?
Mr. Bwenje,
yeah, please go.
Relax. We are talking over internet. I'm not next to you in your house. I'm not next to you in your house. You are protected. No one has ever attacked another through the internet.
You don't have to.
May I have my
the moment you make an interjection, you are attacking
gentlemen, let's have some order here.
Can I submit?
Gentlemen, let's have some order. Please mute. Yeah, let's go and submit.
I haven't said the word.
Yeah.
I'm a panelist, remember.
Yeah.
Yes.
Kindly mute. I'm going to give you a chance.
Yes. Yes.
Can we have some
That's the
order,
highest form of
please?
civilized debate. Okay. Now, members of the panel, and of course those who are watching us, what we should know is that if I choose to have sex with a man, that is my business. As long as I do it in the privacy of my home, as long as both of us are adults, and as long as both of us have consented thereto. Now, where that happens, nobody should ask me, why do you choose to put your penis in someone's anus and not in someone's vagina? Because you cannot force me to have feelings for a vagina which I don't have. My comes with men who have sex with boys, and a boy is a male of under 18 years. Now, in our laws, if you check section 129 of the penal code, that is already catered for, and there is a recent decision of the Court of Appeal of Uganda. It is Wamono Wilfred versus Uganda, criminal appeal number 0185 of 2014, where this gentleman defiled 3 boys aged 13, 7, and 9, and the Court of Appeal convicted him of aggravated defilement and sentenced him to 16 years and 9 months. This same gentleman, this speaker. This same gentleman had a wife and 6 children, but it did not stop him from having sex with young boys. That is wrong. I condemn it. But where the sexual partners are adults who consent, and they do so in the privacy of their own homes, I have nothing against it. Just like I have nothing against a man and a woman, both 18 years or above, which is the age of consent, and Article 31 of our Constitution, who have consensual sex in the privacy of their home. I have nothing against it. My problem comes with men.
Okay, Council, your presentation has hello, Council. Your presentation has captured a bit of attention that I really cannot ignore. Only if it's a question. Only if it's a question. I'm going to allow Mr. Anthony, he was first to raise his hand, to make his submission under 30 seconds.
Okay, so I just have 2 questions. The first question is that, do we Africans have a say in what we adopt as a society? If yes, then what's the problem with us rejecting homosexuality? Second, you're saying the Bible is not useful, or God is a homosexual. Okay, I don't think that God is a homosexual. Otherwise, he wouldn't destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. And have you ever wondered the impact of what the world could be without a religion? In World War II, 100% of the countries that fought against Hitler were Christians. The fundamental basis of them fighting against Hitler was the unity as Christians. So I don't think you really listen to yourself when you are talking. But just educate me. Let me assume that I'm ignorant. Educate me. What do you think about that? Do we Africa have a say in what we adopt? If yes, why is it a problem if we say not homosexuality? Okay, then also tell me, if you think that God he may be a homosexual, so tell me, why did he destroy Gomorrah and Sodom and Gomorrah? Then also, I don't think you are listening to yourself. But anyway, I asked to stop here.
Thank you, Anthony. Yeah, thank you, Anthony, Mr. Council.
Okay, let me make a rebuttal.
No, it's okay. Now, those were 2 questions there. This gentleman
is forgetting that religion, yes, that religion is one of the worst evils which has ever come on earth. The war in Palestine is essentially because of religion. The war in Yemen, in Syria, even in Chad, is basically because of the of the differences in opinion held by different religions. And my submission is that the world would be a better place if we were not religious at all. And he's talking about Sodom and Gomorrah. Is he aware of who created, of who wrote the Bible? Does he know? Or is there any religion of the 200 and so forth religions which came from God? None of them came from God. All of them were introduced by man. And you see, religion is just a tool to control social order. Okay? But there's no evidence that without religion, we would not have peace. Okay? So it is a fallacy to think that without religion, we are no more. No. Okay? We should not be slaves to religion. You see, as human beings, we are born with the ability to distinguish between wrong and good. We don't need religion or God to tell us that stealing is bad. Because if you steal my hen,
Exactly why we are rejecting homosexuality. It is wrong.
See, no one is imposing homosexuality on Africa because it is already there. It has been there for thousands of years. Now we are in the third millennium, but you cannot say that homosexuality has just come. It has been here, okay? And I'm not saying that homosexuality should be imposed on any person. I myself, I cannot promote homosexuality. But if a group of people is running after a homosexual to lynch him and he knocks on my door, I will open the door for him. I cannot just look on as the mob stones him to death. Even when he has an issue and he comes to me as a lawyer, I will represent him even for free. And what also I want to say that there's no need for the Anti-Homosexuality Act because we already have the penal code there. Actually, the debating and the enactment of the Anti-Homosexuality Act is the total wastage of taxpayers' money and the total wastage of parliamentary time because there
was a second question. Yeah, yes. Council, there was a second question upon do Africans have a say about how they live their life?
Yes, they do, because under Article 29 of the Constitution, every one of us has the freedom of conscience. We have the freedom to choose. We have the freedom to choose to be homosexual or not. We have the freedom to choose to adopt what we want and to reject what we do not want. There's no doubt about that.
Then
African countries are independent countries.
Council.
Yes,
Council. Then, if I may, if I may ask, with please. My conversation with Mr. Vianney, you heard me say about how even our high-ranking political leaders are very silent and use a low tone when it comes to this issue. Then how can you please convince me on how we do have a right? Yet I say those who I believe to have power seem powerless when this discussion arises.
You see, I'm the president of an emerging political party. Okay, and I am aware that political parties and organizations are a little bit scared to take a stand on homosexuality because it is a very sensitive area. And of course, as Africans who traditionally have an inferiority complex.
Okay, it seems on my end I'm having a network issue in speaking, Council.
I think it is the case also generally. He has bad network.
That we is it okay now?
Please,
So
please
council
continue.
feedback
Is it
from the
okay
house,
now?
please.
Is it okay now?
Can you allow
Is it okay
others
now?
to come in?
No, I'm still
Hello?
speaking. I'm still within my time. When your time comes up, you are going to speak.
Mm.
And I'm making my final submissions. I also
All
want to
right.
say that I never said
Right
that
now I'm
God
going.
is a homosexual.
Yes, council. Excuse me, council.
I said,
Hello.
what would you do if you found out that
Yes.
God is a homosexual? What would you do? Okay.
All right. So
And
I'm going to receive
just
2 reactions.
one more
Not a
thing. Just,
homosexual. That's why he destroyed
just
Gomorrah and
Yeah.
Sodom.
So
He's
I'm
not a
going to have.
homosexual. Don't
no.
assume things.
You
He's
see,
not a homosexual.
no.
That's why he destroyed. That's why
You
the
see,
Bible,
when
his
you
word,
All right,
rejects
gentlemen.
homosexuality. You can't say that he's a homosexual. Come on. No. Don't
let's
mislead people.
control our
Don't mislead
feelings.
people.
Let's
All right,
control our
gentlemen. Let's
feelings.
have some order.
No,
Some order here.
let's control our feelings.
All
Okay?
right.
You
All
see,
right.
when you lack, when
All
you
right.
don't have any ideas, you become emotional and you attack the person. Let's not attack each other. Let us be messengers. Okay. Let us discuss objectively.
Okay.
You're a
But
wrong
Mr.
messenger.
Counsel, how do you overrule the
Yes.
moderator and
Or-
still think that you're in line?
All right. Let's have some order here. Let's have some order. Let's have some order, guys. I'm going to request everybody to mute their microphones.
I've kept quiet.
Please, Helen
I've
Mbabazi
kept quiet.
and
I've
everybody
kept quiet.
else. Please,
Yes.
everybody, please mute. Yeah, kindly mute. Kindly mute. I'm going to receive only 2 reactions, and then bring on the 3rd panelist. I'm going to call on Warren Bigabwomwe in that order. Then I'm going to have. All right, now I have a choice. Okay, Mr. Warren, I'm going to have to request you to hold your opinion. Let me call on Wesley Banyaji, then let me also call on Molly, and then we shall have Priscilla Atwine. Then Warren, I promise I'm going to engage you. So in that order, let me have Wesige, I have Molly, then we have a response from council, and then we can have the 3rd panelist.
Katunji, excuse me. Excuse me, Katunji.
I am this. Can I go ahead and speak, or I'm stopped?
Yes, Wesige, you can go on.
I want to thank you so much, Eric, and literally every person that is a part of this. And I want to thank Council Bwenje. It's not the first time that I've heard Bwenje talking about this very important topic. I request literally every person to desist from being emotional. It's not necessary. You know, let's not be lazy. The things that Bwenje is raising are things that are supposed to help us think beyond our normal imagination. I don't know why, if Bwenje says God is a homosexual, and you pretty much, Mr. Katwesije, you know that your God is not, why would you blow up because you think there is a divergent opinion of what you think should be the status quo? First of all, how I wish we have a debate on not necessarily the gays and the straight. Can we talk about this without necessarily being religious? Because the moment you go religious, sometimes you're blinded. You will not be able to appreciate certain facts because you've put on a particular lens. Can we understand? Is it possible that a human being born male, because of a natural phenomenon, a biological setup, can lose their identity, or they can have a shell that is male, but within them they're female, or the reverse being true? Has it been scientifically proven that a man can have a natural attraction to a fellow man without necessarily talking about God or culture? Or is it a possibility? Because all these things from generations, we've been able to prove, research has been able to prove so many things that even Africans didn't know, that even the whites didn't know. We know very well that the West has been ahead of us on so many aspects of things that have changed talk about the economic revolution, talk about in terms of the creation and the evolution of the use of machinery. And even now, the fact that we know barren women can now have children through IVF, the Black people didn't know it. So if at all you told a Black person, there is surrogacy, in the past, they would not believe you. They would think a white is up to make up something. And we can have a clean, honest discussion on a human body without bringing in all the other emotions that will blind the judgment. If Council Wenje is creating intriguing questions, can we be able to answer them? Though us who are Christians, for example, myself, sitting back to listen to Bwenje, who is a professed atheist, castigate God and downplay his role and say that God has no role on the earth, it's perturbing. It's uncomfortable for a person who is a believer to sit back and listen to that kind of narrative. But it's only wisdom, it's only wise and reasonable that you sit back and listen and try to interrogate the information that is being brought. Otherwise, we are going to be eaten up by sentiments and emotions. And me, I want to hear a person who does not necessarily talk about the rights. I don't want to hear rights and what is wrong and right. We know that what is right wherever, and what is wrong wherever. Let's not talk about the Bible and things. Is there scientific research that backs up homosexuality? If yes, can we try to understand where they come from? How possible is it? Why do they promote it? And another thing, if two men have chosen to be gay, why does one pretend to act like a woman? Because you've all chosen, you say you're both men and you're attracted to each other being men. Then why is one of you trying to act like a woman? I thought if you're both decided to be men, you should keep it the way it is without trying to portray an image of male and female, even within that relationship. There is a lot that we can have to understand. Me, I am really interested, Bwana Eric, as I'm closing, to hear someone educate me without other parameters and other things. Can someone help me understand? Can a human being who is born male feel female? Because we know of the sissies, we all know that they are men who act like women. And there are sissy, we know of women that act like men who are tomboys. Does that make them gay or lesbian? Absolutely not. You can act like a man when you have no attraction for the same sex. I don't know. I need good education, not this hula baloo I'm hearing and the noise and everything that has to do with it.
All right. A bit of temperament in the house is hugely appreciated. It had become a little bit too heated. Yeah. Let's use our ability to just share ideas. Let me have Warren Bigabwome, then I'll have Amoti, then I'll have Molly. As we seem to have don't know if it's a network connection. Priscilla is out. She suppose this is her time now. But let's have people in that order. Warren, Amoti, we have Molly, and then hopefully Priscilla is with us by that time, and maybe Katushabe, you get a chance.
Yes, I don't know if I'm audible enough, Mr. Katunji.
30 seconds. 30 seconds. All right.
30 seconds is really not going to be enough. I'll be honest with you. It's not going to be enough. I hope I'm audible enough, am I? I'm sorry to have joined a little bit later. I was preoccupied with some things that were disturbing me, but I'm glad that I managed to make it while Council Dustedit was addressing the masses. One, I would like to advise everyone, like Mr. Wesige advised, separate emotions from such discussions. Secondly, whether or not you agree with something, you ought to give it the ear. Do not have a locked mindset whereby, because if you're not afraid of someone's opinion, if you don't think it's going to shake your own, there's no need to fear it or to hold it in its tracks. Because I believe we don't have any toddlers on the platform whose mindset might be clouded by what is being said. But if you are convicted of your beliefs, then I believe whatever opinions are shared here, if you're fully convicted of your beliefs, I believe whatever opinion is shared here will not shake your own. So in addition to that, me, I have a question for Mr. Dustedit, Council Dustedit. You know, he talks about how there is no, I will not approach this from the godly perspective because
Warren, your audio is not so good. Your audio is not so good.
Is it better now?
We can hear you. I think, Eric, it is your problem. We can hear, me, I can hear him clearly.
Is it better now?
You could make an attempt.
I can hear you.
It's just on my side.
Eric,
Helen says
I think, Eric,
you
you are the one with the problem. Yeah, with the network.
Now, yes, now, when it comes to what Mr. Dustedit was saying, I will not approach it from the godly perspective because that's open. That opens up a lot of questions and stuff. Me, I have a question for him, and how I wish he would like answer it as I go on, because it's a step-by-step process. Mr. Dustedit, do you have a family? Do you have a wife and kids? I believe he does. I don't know if he's on, but let's say he does.
I'm aware he's a father and a husband. Yeah.
If you could tell him maybe to answer some of these questions, because this is going to really be what pins him down. Nothing else will. I guarantee you that nothing else will. Yes, Mr. Dustedit.
Yes.
Do you have a family? Do you have a wife and children?
I have 5 children.
Yeah. Where do you draw? And how many sons do you have?
I have 5 children. Hello. Hello.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Mr. Dustedit, I can hear you. Anyhow, I'm going to presuppose that you can hear me. The reason as to why I was asking that, since you don't seem to draw the line when it comes to sexual preference, or you don't seem to draw a line anywhere. If today you woke up and your entire family, so your son, decided that he's going to start having sexual relations with his brother. I know when I bring in a woman, when I bring in a sister, you'll say maybe biology says that's dangerous for 2 people to copulate when they share the same exact genetic makeup in terms of genes or DNA. But I would like to ask you, if you found your children, they're both 18 and above, and they're engaging in homosexual practices under your own roof, who are related, one older than the other is probably sodomizing the one younger, would you applaud it because, you know, homosexuality is okay? Or let's even move away a bit from homosexuality. Let's say today your wife said, Mr. Dustedit, I'm tired of you. I'm tired of you.
Answer that?
I would like to have, yes, I would like to answer, just hold on. I would like to have sexual relation with our son, our eldest son. Yes, you can, sure.
Can I answer?
I'm listening.
Hello?
I'm listening. Please answer. Yes, I'm listening.
Hello? Yes. Yes. Now, under the Constitution, the age of consent is 18 years. Okay? I have nothing against my son having sex with his brother, as long as the 2 of them have consented and they are of age.
Yeah, I think, Eric, you're going to have to help because I think his network is a little bit shaky.
Excuse me, Eric.
Now I would have to. We shall have.
Excuse me,
Eric.
Eric.
Have a stop on this discussion. We shall have a close on this discussion for now. Right now, I'm going to call on our panelist. I see Miss Atwine Priscilla is back. Now we have had.
Yes, I didn't finish my submission.
2 presentations, Miss Priscilla. Yes. Hello, Warren. Hello.
Okay.
Yes.
Hello. Yes, we have been having now the audio quality is not good. Now it's time for the other presenter. Not yet. Let's have now Miss Priscilla. Now there have been 2 opinions in the house. On one side, we have heard that the campaign of LGBTQ, the campaign for LGBTQ may cost us our African traditional values, our heritage. And on the other side, when we come, what Council Gwenje was saying is that there are implications to humanity, to us as human beings, when we deny these LGBTQ individuals legal protection and recognition in society, that it is discriminatory, it is violent. So I would like to hear your position today, this afternoon.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Katunji Elki. And thank you, Wenje. Thank you, Wesige. Thank you, Warren. And Helen, I can see you're saying that your emotions are back in the chats. Yeah, this is a sensitive topic, but we don't need to attack each other. I'm going to base, like how Wesige said, I'm going to base on research, and I'm a clinical psychologist, so I'm going to talk as a clinical psychologist. I'm not going to attack any religion. I wouldn't love to involve religion in this discussion. Yeah, our discussion was about, it is about sexual orientation and gender identity in Uganda, not in the UK, not in Denmark, not in where, but here in Uganda. As we see, our leaders choose topics according to what is happening around. And we can see that this has been happening around. And first of all, I would like to ask the audience, do we understand what sexual orientation is, or sexual preference? Before we argue homosexuality and lesbianism or homosexuality, do we know what it means? Sex orientation is about who you're attracted to and who you feel drawn to romantically, emotionally, sexually. It is about who you want to be with. You want to be with a man or you want to be with a woman. And there are different categories of orientation. I'm not going to go into that because I see the minutes are going. But let's look at another definition, because that is sexual orientation. We have sexual identity. In psychology, we call it sexual identity disorder or gender dysphoria, a condition where a person's significant level of discontent with their birth assigned sex is different from homosexuality or bisexuality. This person is born a girl, but is not comfortable being a girl. He would rather behave like a boy. That is the difference. It is not about who you are attracted to, but who you are, how the person feels, what the person, the thoughts the persons have. That's sexual identity disorder. In Katunji, I will talk about your question. You asked me your question. I will talk about it. This means that being a transgender is like you are assigned sex a very different from gender you identified with. Isn't it the same meaning or the same thing as being a gay, lesbian, or, you know, but there is a difference between sexual orientation and sexual identity. We have to differentiate that before our emotions are going up and down. And Mr. Wenje talked about human rights. I understand very well that human rights come with responsibilities. So what does that mean? If I have a right as I have talked about, the sexual identity or sexual orientation, I'm attracted to a lady. Yes, I have rights, but I also have responsibilities. Actually, I wanted Mr. Wenje to talk about that because I saw that he's a council. You have you have responsibilities. What are those responsibilities? Are you going to hurt others? What is the right? Yes, if I have a right to drink, let me give an example. Take alcohol. I have a responsibility not to drink and drive and cause an accident. So if I have a right to be a gay, do I have a right to go and force others and use other means to make sure that others join me? Or do I have a right to hurt other people? Let me talk about what the last speaker was talking about. The science, the research has tried to look at these things, sexual orientation and sexual identity disorder. And the research, they are also still researching and researching and researching. But the cause, it is both, it can be both either natural or nature. It can be inherited or it can be acquired or learned from, like now in secondary schools, in schools, children learn from others. Actually, I think the big issue here we are to talk about is nature, the environment where our children, where our sisters and brothers are. Whom do they contact with? Whom do they relate with? What kind of relationships do they have? Yes, Mr. Wenje talked about that, when you're above 18, can even allow, I don't know whether I heard it very well, that he can even allow his son to have a relationship with a sibling. But now here we are talking in the context, it is about Uganda. We are talking about Uganda. So if it can be either inherited or nurtured. But me as a clinical psychologist, I believe more in nature or the environment. So many young boys and girls have learned these things. And what does it cause? Yes, before we force people that, you can be like that, you can be a homosexual, you can be a lesbian, but does it have a cause on our society, our families, as an individual, to our friends, to our colleagues? Does these things have effects? Do they have impact? Yes, they have. Actually, when the council was discussing, I could see that some people are writing, and you could see that already they were impacted. They were stressed. They were bringing out their emotions. So there is a lot of stress that comes in. Parents are stressed. They don't know how to handle these boys and girls. Or a man and a woman, one of them says, no, you know what, I'm going with the so and so. I no longer want heterosexual. There is a lot of anxiety, depression, substance use, suicide, because it is a problem. Yes, we are saying that let people have their rights, but they have to have responsibilities also. Because if we choose to be this, and then we cause people, we are the cause of depression, we are the cause of anxiety, we are the cause of substance abuse, we are the cause of suicide, people are killing themselves. Yes, I understand that even those
Ms.
people...
Priscilla, Yeah, Miss
Yes.
Priscilla, if I may ask.
Yes.
I know of an incident of I know of an incident of a girl that was
Yes.
raped by her uncle.
Yes. Yes.
At an early age, maybe, who
Yeah.
has had a father that has been absent. The
Mm,
life
mm,
story of this girl is
mm,
that the men she has looked up to have only
mm,
betrayed her. And
mm,
you
mm,
talked about
mm,
mental health and you talked about the actions of an individual against a community. Where does
mm,
personal happiness come in? Where does my own pursuit of happiness come in? Because when this person in future clearly their emotions have been re-engineered to only seek comfort with the same sex,
mm,
and
mm,
it's truly what makes them happy, and you really see thrill and joy and comfort, generally
mm.
emotional solace. uh,
Yes. Yes.
what do you have to say about that? Mm.
Yeah. First of all, you can see that this child was abused. And you remember I talked about the environment. Where do our children grow from? This child was abused. And this child will grow knowing this is the right thing to do, or will grow hating the other opposite sex because he knows this is the right thing to do. At a tender age, the brain conceives that this is the right thing to do. But there is a remedy. I'm sure there is always an answer for every question. If this child can get support, I hope I got your question well.
Yeah, please go on.
Mr. Katunji.
Yes, hello, please go on.
Hello?
I'm following.
Okay, okay. I'm saying that there is a remedy. There is always hope. There is always an answer. So if this child can get some support, psychotherapy, even, and process what happened from that tender age, I'm telling you, maybe now he's grown up, you'll be saying, this was not right, or this was wrong. Here, we are not here to talk about the right and the wrong.
Okay, all right. Okay, Miss Priscilla, let me give you another scenario.
Yes.
There are those who are born that way.
Yes.
That genuinely I'm a lady, and
Yes.
and I just for some reason have a strong emotional attraction to you, Miss Priscilla.
Yes.
And this is the way I feel. And no matter
Yes.
how I force myself, my family has brought these many men. My friends have really tried to connect me to this person, but it means nothing. Still, even though I married this man, I would still be running to this woman. And
Yes.
even still, I completely do not agree that we can medicate every circumstance. Is this a consequence of human evolution? And I would like to pick your mind on that. For those who believe that it is natural, I was born this way. What do you have to say about that?
We say that, yes, research says that some are born like that. But why are they born like that? Because there is something that happens between the father and the mother. And maybe it could be the lifestyle. Maybe it could be the chemicals. Maybe it could be the hormones. And yes, the child is born like that. And that's how he feels. That's why I was saying that I don't want to say that this is right and this is wrong. This person, that's how he feels. But when you feel like that and you want to live like that, do you have the right to force others? Do you have the right like to degrade the other part, because I understand, as you have said, they can't all be medicated. But why is it that there are so many organizations who are willing to put in money? And if like now I wake up, I want to go to European countries, one of the countries, and I wake up, in 1 week I will have gone. I will say, you know what, Uganda is harassing me. And they will put money in that. So why are they not putting money in treatment? Why is it becoming a hot issue? If the Western world is interested in it and the African continent is not interested, why is it being forced on us? It is kind of forcing. I remember, Katunju, at the beginning you said that we were colonized. Yes, we gained independence, but actually we are still being colonized. Because we need money, because we need to go abroad, and you know what? So I'm not blaming that child who was born like that. And to be honest, I don't know what can be done apart from therapy.
Okay.
To support that
Priscilla,
child.
I know of a scientist. Yeah, I know
Yes.
of a scientist. We have talked about the mind. We have talked about psychology, where it is intentional, where it is trauma, and it leads to this. Now,
Yes,
this scientist
that's
says
where I was
that we
going.
do undermine genetics. We do undermine genetics about
Yes.
how we have these so-called neurotransistors that affect our genetic makeup. And I'm not a neuropsychologist, but that it's, you know, hormonotherapy. Yeah, I think
Yes,
it's
I do.
whereby we have these pleasure pathways that you find, me as a man, maybe my pleasure pathway cannot be influenced by a woman, but for some scientific reason, my genetic makeup is just created like that. Are we going to have is there a surgery that is going to overhaul my nervous system to change that kind of to change that part of my anatomy? What do you have to say about that?
So Mr. Katunj, if there is money to make me a man now, you see, there is science, there is what is needed to make me a man. I'm a woman, but there is science, there is everything that can make me a man. Why isn't there something that can reverse the problem? If I was born like that and I have hormones, maybe all the chemicals or neurotransmitters. At the beginning, you said we want to make this thing soft. We don't want to go into much into science. So if there is a way of making a man a woman, how come that there is no way of making this person who was born like that and he has hormonal imbalance, the neurotransmitters, how come that he cannot reverse that? They cannot reverse that. And remember also that some people who are born like that, it will be a disorder. Let me give an example.
All right.
Yes. If you're born.
No, I'm going, Priscilla, I'm going to give you a few minutes to conclude, then I bring on the other participants in these remaining minutes.
Yeah, I'm saying that if the person, I was saying that if the person is born like that, also, it can be treated like any other disease, like any other disorder. Like if someone has schizophrenia, is born maybe because of the parents inherited it, he gets treatment. So why can't this also be treated like that? And the last thing I want to talk about, not actually the last thing, I had a lot to talk about, but time has gone. Now, let's look at the sexual behaviors. What our Ugandan culture, Ugandan values, what our values, what are the sexual behaviors that lead to reproduction and stimulation of sexual organs for satisfaction? So where do we place that? Do we reject it? Actually, that's why there is a lot of dust, because the behaviors are changing. We are changing, we are learning, and the lifestyle we are living also, it is bringing more. Let me give you an example. I'm working in a refugee camp. I'm sorry, the council talked about the wars that are going on, that it is because of religion. I really don't know how true that is, but so many children, so many mothers, fathers have developed conditions because of this, of the trauma they are going through. And it becomes a disorder. And then you come, you tell me that you have a right. Does that mean also that you have a right to start war and killing people, and then people develop abnormal, issues?
All right. Thank you, Priscilla. I'm going to have to hold on there. We have 20 minutes left, and I'm going to have these 15 minutes shared amongst the attendants today. Now I'm going to first call on Nyakana. I'm going to call on Nyakana, then call on Mr. Mbasa, Andrew. Then in that order, I'm going to have reactions from, reaction from others. Let's have Nyakana now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Eric, and I'm grateful that you've given me this opportunity. I know I have very little time, but in this very little time, I want to appreciate the perspectives of the several presenters on the issue. But the greatest highlight was from the council who presented, Council Denmark, the gentleman who did intimate that he does not believe in the existence of God. And yet, at some point, he also intimates that such a God whom he does not believe exists is a homosexual in himself. I found that very interesting, a logical error that our comrade makes. And of course, he errs very broadly in logic and in many instances of what he alludes to. But that notwithstanding, I appreciate his perspective. Sorry, I had something.
That's not what I said.
Yeah, I was continuing to say that whereas that is the matter, I appreciate the perspective of the Land Council, especially where he points to the naturalistic approach of reasoning out what this matter is. Whereas I share the same philosophy of life about the supremacy of nature, I want to submit that even that kind of philosophy is guided by some principles. For example, nature in itself follows logic, and recently, and in the recent years, we have had something to supplement logic, and that is science. And secondly, nature in itself never wastes a thing. So whatever is natural is there for a purpose. So the mission is for you as a human being to establish or at least rhyme with that nature, or know the purpose of why A is A, B is B, and C is C. One of the natural things is our tendency to make choices to determine A, B, C, D. But it is not to say that whatever choices we make are without consequences. And that is the burden that has been incumbent upon us as human beings, that for whatever choice you make, there is, or whatever choice you do not make, there is a consequence to the same. So that aside, so we go to the aspect that we are discussing now. So for one to become an LGBT participant, I don't know, there are so many letters that follow thereon, but for one to become a member of that entity, we are, someone I think mentioned of how we become members to the same. But largely, you notice that it is not a natural inclination to become so. And I unless I am misinformed, but I do not know of science that supports that there are people who are born naturally in that sense. So because it is not something that is very intrinsic of us, I was reading a little more about it. The Catholic Church describes homosexuality or LGBT community as something that is intrinsically disordered or disordering. So in our nature, that is not something that happens almost automatically. And to contrapose that with what exactly happens, I, as Nyakana, I do not have to have a football player wear a banner or to tell me that I have to go and marry or look at a beautiful woman and I get excited. That I don't have to have someone appear on TV, someone rate the papers, why I need to look at a beautiful woman and I get attracted. That does not happen like that, because for me to see a beautiful woman and get excited, it is something that is natural of me. So what makes maybe just to add something else, to say that
As you conclude.
Yes, as I conclude. So why homosexuality or LGBT community is meeting a lot of resistance? Because in the ordinary setting or in the natural setting, as is known to the greater majority, there is a lot of fault in it because of what consequences it holds. And one of those consequences is that with the LGBT community spreading like wildfire, the human race is at risk of extinction. And is it not something that should worry you and I, who are thinking human beings, to know that for whatever you're doing, those that in the next 30
I wish to make a rebuttal.
you're not consistent on account of thinking that you're exercising your reason to choose whatever you want to do. I submit, and I thank you all for listening.
All right. Thank you very much, Nyakana. I'm going to request
make
the
a rebuttal.
panelists to
Want to make a
take
rebuttal?
note. Yes.
Can I make
I
a
promise
rebuttal?
you, Bwenje, you will have your rebuttal. No,
Yes.
you will have your rebuttal. I prefer that we have these people talk, then you can summarize your rebuttal, right?
Okay.
Okay, now let's have
Yes,
Mbasa
and we should
Andrew.
not
The panelists
forget
will
the
have
subtopics.
concluding remarks. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. And in a few seconds, as we dialogue and discuss, can we come up with measures of how we can help the situation instead of talking, shouting, being emotional, and it ends there? So can we ask ourselves these questions? What is the source of all this, and how can we face it? What is the role of every person, of the stakeholders in society? What is the role of the parent, of the politicians, of the leaders and lawmakers? So as we discuss, can we move a step further and speak or do something which we can, and act on something which we can do? Or shall I just discuss and it ends there on the platform? Can we look at the implication of accepting LGBT? Can we weigh it with the implication of rejecting it? So I suggest that as we discuss, we spare some time, because I understand the majority of us, honestly, based on our values, we are against LGBT. So what can we do? Our children may be victims in schools. Our society's children are dying out. So in the few minutes remaining, can we please hint out a few things we can do instead of discussing, talking, and ending it there. Thank you so much, Mr. Katunji.
I've noted the question, sir. So let's have Mr. Wesige Banyadi. Mr. Wesige is not ready. Let's have technical team. I see technical team, your hand is up.
Oh, that's me. That's me. Hope I'm clear. Everyone can hear me. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you, Derek.
All right. Now, I want to first of all register my disappointment with everyone here who has decided to concentrate on this. I'm going to call it a small issue because I'm going to use some figures to explain my point. Like if we're going to talk about 2020, 2021, 2022, you realize that 34 Ugandans below 18 years were abused every day sexually. And this was not in regards to LGBT. And if I can reduce that to more understanding, every 42 minutes, one Ugandan was sexually harassed. But we have decided to concentrate on LGBT, yet we have a big issue at hand because 1,423 people were raped in 2022. That's at least 4 Ugandans every day. Over 12,000 cases of defilement were reported, of which 12,470 were female. There was a few number involving male. Then, also to break it down further, 653 of these were 8 years old and below. 4,000 were 9 to 14 years. 8,000 were 15 to 17 years. And 150 were defiled by parents or guardians. And then 80 or more were by teachers. But we've decided to have a big debate on homosexuality, yet we have heterosexual. I'm going to call it heterosexual since we've decided to differentiate them. This was happening in your background, and no one has held a dialogue about sexual harassment. Anyway, those are my 2 cents on that issue.
Thank you, technical. Let's have Warren Bigabomwe. We shall have Anthony. Then finally, we are going to have we shall have the panelists conclude.
Thank you so much, Mr. Katunji. Am I audible enough?
Properly.
Yes, thank you again. And thank you to the entire team, to everyone that has participated. Mr. Derek, the one on the technical. It's clear that this is too big a discussion to conclude in one or even 2 dialogues. So maybe we shall have an extension such that we can cover fully everything that needs to be covered. You might notice that we actually added 30 minutes to the normal time, but still it doesn't seem to be enough. Such hot topics will always, pull in that much attention, that much viewers, that much people wanting to contribute to the discussion itself. As Mr. or rather Council Dus did it, is concluding, I would like for him to help me answer that question that I asked on earlier on. Then in addition, if it's an issue of the constitution and an issue of choice and consent and what's the other word that I could use? And an issue of whether or not 2 people, consenting adults, have agreed. How I wish your wife, not in any way you might interpret this, or how I wish your wife today woke up and told you that he would wish to have sexual relations with your eldest son. They may probably use all the contraception and not reproduce. And how in your world, which that you live in particularly, how I wish that could be done at a scale that is so immense, to the point that it can actually, someone talked about the extinction of the human race. I don't think people put these things into consideration if something was to be done at such a large scale. However much we might not subscribe to things like religion and what, we have values as a society. And when you attack those values, think not that you will not have repercussions. And the repercussions are very clear, because I can give you an extreme situation. As a matter of fact, when that happens, maybe I would wish that probably your father goes for one of your daughters, because it's consent. If he's alive, if it's consent, in the place where we're looking at it as just consenting adults, when she gets 18, how I would wish that your father comes for her, and maybe they get married in some church, because it probably won't be a Christian one or anything, such that maybe we, in the name of protecting rights of two consenting adults, we can have it fully practiced. And on top of that, how I wish that the entire family could just mingle and just take turns in engaging in such activity. Man on man, woman on woman, a man on woman, young on old, old on young, things like that, such that maybe you understand the gravity of the situation. Yeah, that's my submission. I wish to end here.
Let's have
Can I
Dan
make a
Anthony.
rebuttal?
Let's have Dan Anthony. Let's have Dan Anthony.
Okay, I am sorry if you think that me discussing this is emotions, but it's not. This is how I discuss. And I'm going to only use 5 minutes. I'll try to summarize my best. So, my brother failed to answer the question that if we, Africa, have a say no to adapt, why is it bad, or why are we labeled primitive when we say no to homosexuality? Okay, many of you don't know why people are rejecting homosexuality. Let me tell you why. We have poor medical services, and these people do not, they know the effects of homosexuality and they don't want to say them out. The bottom surgeries that come out of like recklessness in homosexuality cost a lot. We have high medical bills. We have high crime rates, like this guy, what he said in terms of sexual harassment. Now imagine a situation whereby we allow homosexuality. Yes. Do you know what is happening in Zambia? Men are being raped. Men cannot walk on the streets. Do you want the same in Uganda? Whereby even the heterosexuals are misbehaving, raping women and kids and all of that. Now imagine now it happens. Now a man is no longer safe. So now, let's also examine the scientific studies that show the highest spread of STDs, especially HIV/AIDS, is among the homosexuals. Are we dismissing that? Okay, let's also say this. Why isn't this agenda being spread in countries like China, Russia, Saudi Arabia, and all of that? It's because they said no to the agenda. And we are all assuming that saying no to something imposed by the Western nations is primitivity. No. Then these guys are saying that religion, yes, religion has done a lot of good, but it also has some failures, you know? So if you tell me one country in the global north, that the first world nations, that their development is not rooted in religious opinions and religious fundamentals and morals, is it whether in India, whether in China, they all have religion at the center of their development. And religion helped in creation of human rights that are being distorted by these lawyers currently. You understand? So when you hear someone saying that, okay, if you're saying the rule of law, that you have to know that society has a right to take its action. If society rejects something, you're going to face this discrimination. The same way black people go into these European nations and they're discriminated. Those societies do not want black people. So is that a problem? Yes, it's racism. But does it mean that we have to impose it to them by force? No. Let them do it. It's their society. But if they come in my country and discriminate against me, I will also take action. So please, do not mislead people. So a great man said that society dies when individuals and great men fail to stand up against injustices on their own values. Homosexuality is an injustice. You're saying that we had homosexuality. The ratio of homosexuality in the 1980s was 1 million to 1. And that was Kabaka Mwanga, who was recruited by the British. Why is it spreading right now? It's because it is funded by these so-called human rights, blah, blah, blah. Well, please, do not mislead people. So you have to understand that you have to differentiate between sexual orientation and human rights. Sexual orientation is not a right. Because I choose who I sleep with, whether I sleep with a goat, a cow, a human, that's a choice. You understand? And when I'm sleeping with that person, I don't see the government policing that you should sleep with a woman and you should sleep with a man. Who's there when we're in the bedrooms having sex? No one. So it is individual discipline. The reason why people are rejecting it is because of the cost associated. People have spoken up. People know the dangers of homosexuality. But you, in the disguise of human rights and laws, you are trying to. Okay, let's talk about transgenderism.
As you summarize, Anthony,
I'm using 5 minutes, like I said, I have a time. So, no, wait. I want you to rebuttal because it's exactly what I want.
Set your own time. You cannot set your own time.
Mr. Bwende, it's okay. Let him conclude.
Okay. So, what I want to tell you is that the Western world or the global North has the most advanced economic development rates because their laws were fundamentally originating from biblical and even religious views. Look at that. So you cannot say that now we abolish God. Okay, we abolish God, then for what? What values shall we inherit when people are just debating about this? How about let's look at what I told you. In 1946, the World War II ended when 100% of the countries that fought against Hitler were Christians. Now, if you say we abolish God and the ideas of the fundamentals of God within our lives, can you imagine what would have happened if these Christian countries had said, because that's the only thing that united them. It's all said and documented, but you don't want to acknowledge that. But anyway, what I want to conclude with, yes, you're going to make a rebuttal. What I want to conclude is that there's a Canadian psychologist who treated homosexuality in the 1980s, and he talked about gender dysphoria and all of that. The evidence suggested that kids who are uncomfortable with their bodies between the age of 16 and below, by the age of 18, if they are left alone and no one pays attention to criticizing them on how they are dressing, how they are acting, that you're acting like a boy, you're acting like a girl. You understand? By the age of 19, it's already sorted out. 90% of the males, of those people who come out of that, would turn out to be gay. And right now, those are the people being transitioning, and they are actually, it's mutilation. They're being mutilated. And yet, for the girls and some of the boys that survive that stage, at the age of 25, they are all comfortable within their bodies. They have families and they appreciate who they are. So, my brother, before you advocate for something, you have to understand why African values are against that. Do you know the costs of doing bottom surgeries? Have you seen medical reports in Mulago? Have you seen medical reports in Zambia? You don't know these things because you avoid them. You say step to them. Yet you know the highest spread of, now imagine HIV in Uganda that killed the biggest number of our most active and the most useful human resource. And now you're saying we allow homosexuality. Anyway, for now, I wish to stop here, but I wish all of you to understand that God is not dead. And you have to know that these are the signs of the beast fighting to take over God. So, my brother, we are seeing, and so long as religion exists,
thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Anthony. I had given technical a chance. I see Manzi Monanula. Then we can have the two panelists conclude.
Yeah, thank you very much, Eric. I don't know if I am audible enough. Yeah, I would like to thank everyone for attending this dialogue, and it's been very sensitive. I would like to comment on a few things. Please, Deus did it. Let's have some order that you can always raise your hand when you want to speak, then you're chosen not to speak. Just like you want good audience while speaking, you should accord the same to others. You can mute your machine. Thank you very much. Yeah. Now, it's been a very sensitive topic. One thing to note, is that when we come here for these dialogues, we're trying to amplify our thoughts towards contributing to decisions at all levels. We've had different topics in education, in mental health, in everything. So let's not be very emotional. Let's have liberal minds and contribute to these dialogues according to what we think, so that such kind of opinions that we air out can be something that can added on to decisions that are made, or like on anything that would be concluded on that can affect us. Personally, I would have my opinions about the sexual orientation and LGBTI. I stand for being straight. You understand? Now, in such a way, then I would want to say conclusion of this dialogue that at least we had people in the comment section stand for. Someone talked about democracy here. If we say that we had a dialogue where we had about 30 participants and maybe 28 stood for being straight, then we have a percentage. We have an informed decision of, we had a youth dialogue on this and this a day. We are representative of the other youth out there. That if we stood up and we had only one person, two, three, who said they stand for gay rights and these ones against it, it's substantial information to contribute to statistics nationally. So that's what I look up to having, rather than having this back and forth unrelated conversation of, we are talking about a conversation to do with sexual orientation, and I don't know how religion comes in here for someone, so there's no God, or that and that. So I think let's always try to research more about the topic and be articulate in our submissions. Thank you very much.
So, Mr. Bwenje, you have 2 minutes to give your closing remarks. Then Mr. Twine will come on, and then we conclude our meeting.
Okay, I've made a fundamental observation that Mr. Manzi is really biased. He's asking me why I should talk about there being no God, but he forgets that I said that against the background of some of the members saying that there is a God, and so and God has said A, B, C, and D. Okay, and then the second is that this dialogue is a battlefield of ideas, and the best idea must win. So if you have no ideas, then you have to keep quiet. And then the second, Mr. Nyakana made a fundamentally erroneous interpretation of what I said. I never said that God is a homosexual. I just posed a rhetoric question. What if you a believer found out that God is a homosexual? Would you stop believing in him? I never said that he is a homosexual. Okay, and then and then my grand sister made some comments, but she's trying to forcefully convert gay people. Why? If somebody is born a homosexual, why do you want to convert him into a heterosexual person? No. That cannot happen. Okay, because if you do that, you will be no different from the Germans who forcefully castrated the Namibians in the German genocide in Namibia. And also, I never said that I would support my sons for sex, even if they are 18, having sex between them only amounts to incest. Okay, so I cannot support it. But if there's no incest and they are of age, I have nothing against it. Then the other observation is that we are depending on the Bible, but we forget that although the Bible condemns homosexuality, it condones or it supports slavery and torture, which slavery and torture are prohibited under our constitution. So how do you choose to support this and you don't support that? That means the Bible is fundamentally wrong, and we should not even believe in it. Then the other observation I have made is that you can never force a man to love a woman. It's not how beautiful or how many cows the woman has. If man says, I don't have feelings for a woman, that is it. You should respect that. That is the expression of the woman's, of the man's freedom of conscience.
As you conclude,
to change his opinion. And then, yes. And then Manzi said that we should say what we think here. No, that is wrong. Our opinions here do not matter. We should not say what we know, what is researched, and what is born from the evidence. Then the last thing, Mr. Moderator, I want us to run very fast through the subtopics because we have not covered, I think, some of them. I think I'm going to go to subtopic 2 in the Ugandan context. What is the expression of the unanimous issue? Oh, damn it.
I think your network is bad, Wenja. We can't hear you.
All right, Mr. Bwenje, I have to engage another panelist here. On my side, I had lost Mr. Vianney's account, but I'm still going to have Miss Priscilla. So, Miss Priscilla, could we have your closing remarks? 2 minutes. And then we are going to engage Mr. John Vianney. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Atunji. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating and, as the council said that this is a battle for ideas. Yes, it is a battle, but we must at the end learn something.
Yes.
So there is someone, I don't remember, I think maybe Anton or Nyakan, who asked a good question. He said, what are we going to do? Every week we have a dialogue here. We talk and talk and talk. So can we include it in this dialogue that there is a way we can, at the end of the dialogue, we say, let's do these activities. Let's do this, maybe. Because if we talk, yes, we are learning, but without action, then we'll be wasting our time. Yeah, I wanted also about what are we going to do about this topic. We are supposed to talk about how can we help people who need help, the family members who are struggling with stigma, who are struggling with those who feel like they are not themselves. How can we help them? That's where the clinical psychologists comes in. That's where the medical personnel comes in. But it is true. I think it is Nyakana. We talked about here and there and started arguing, and we left the core issues. I thank Rose. You posted it saying that you are helping people in Buhumuro Center. Yeah, I'm talking about this. I talked about the values. I talked about treatment, but that one doesn't mean, because I'm a clinical psychologist, that one doesn't mean that when a person comes and he has an issue related to that I'm going to judge him. No. Now, if we continue judging them, the more we judge them, the more they will go far away from us. So what remedy can we give? What can we do to see that those who are already engaged and they want to come back, they have got treatment? And those who are already there, but those who are already learning, Katunje in the description of the questions, the topic, the subtopics, there was one topic that was talking about raising cases of homosexuality, of homosexuals in schools, especially in schools. And we didn't look at that. We just talked randomly. So I think next time let's be very, very clear that we tackle all the subtopics. We look at them clearly and we give clear answers. we give the way forward so that people who are listening or they have learned something, they can go and also give it to their family members or friends. Thank you so much, Katunji.
Let's have John Vianney.
Thank you very much. I've listened quite very well, and I want to appreciate the depth of the discussion. Most importantly, I think it's my time now. You may need to either wait. Good. So, Council Denmark, of course, made various fallacies and what have you, but it's okay. We know that there is no stance where you can really best defend an evil. For example, a question that what if God is homosexuality? Even if he's a homosexual. Now, can we also ask other illogical questions? What if God is a murderer? Should we go around murdering people? What if God is a thief? Should we go around stealing? Those are illogical questions which shouldn't be given any attention. Now, if I'm going to run through the highlight of what I had prepared, dimensions of sexual orientation, sexual identity, yeah? How you label your sexual identity. People want to label themselves what they are not. I am he, I'm him. A man, because you see, now if you are very keen and you look at the forms we are filling these days, they ask, what are your pronouns? He, him, she, her. So the intent, if you're a man, you can still say, you can call me she or her. That is evil. We must fight it. Second,
well, if I could interject, I mean, I just joined about 5 minutes ago. I think the discussion is.
I need to be
Mr. Baguma, if it's okay, we could allow Vianney to finish his
Okay, apologize.
Good. Then sexual attraction, who you are attracted to. You people have been asking about science, and then I saw Wesley trying to ask deeper questions. Are there studies which have showed that a person who is a man can be attracted to a fellow man and what have you? I have spent almost 35 years on this earth. I have not seen in my community, I have not seen any man who says, but I'm attracted to the other man. I have not seen him. I don't know whether you have seen people in those ends, those who come from Fort Potro, Mbarara, Weya, Gulu, or abroad. Have you? I haven't seen any in this society setting. So why are we discussing this? And you know, these guys, they want us at this very stage. Because a lie, often told and loudly, becomes the truth. We must fight that. Then sexual behavior. What you do sexually, avoid all those unnatural sexual behaviors. And anus, we know what is used for. The mouth, we know what is used for. Do what's supposed to do. Then, if I'm talking about the inspiration behind the rejection of homosexuality across all ethnicities in Uganda, because we all agree that we are all accountable to society. And you can only be accountable to society, as Nyakana alluded logically, by making such choices which have such consequences that impact society positively. Produce, add a stone, add a brick to the building of your society. When you live here a legacy that will continue building of the nation. Then, arising cases of homosexuality practices in Ugandan schools. Why? Of course, we have agreed that there is no proof. You people are asking for scientific proof whether a man can be attracted to it is not there. Now, what they are going to do, because they know they don't have this backing, they are going to go back and write such forged and baseless researches that support their actions. Please be on guard. The gentleman, Denmark, was referring to writings of Loko Nyango and Sylvia Tamale. If in African traditional societies there were homosexuals, of course they were not given a cup of tea because they are homosexuals. They were always admonished. We can't allow that. Then, in these schools, because homosexuals are not, the homosexuals are not, it is not in their genes. They cannot produce their fellow homosexuals anyway. How would they do that? Since they cannot multiply, what happens is the only way of getting sexual partners is through recruitment. And schools having children who are young and are unable to make such kind of decisions, they are easy targets. That's why we have our schools being a target and a fertile ground of homosexuals. Then, the question of homosexuals' rights in pursuing their rights, are they right in pursuing their rights? Do they deserve autonomy over their bodies? I settled this earlier on. There is nothing like right by fronting a wrong that you want to be right. Later thieves are going to be asking to be registered, an association of thieves, an association of murderers. It is our right to associate, so they will say. So we must stand and defend our community. Then, the stigma, people say the stigma, they are being stigmatized, the people with tomboy behavior and what have you, yeah, and then their mental health is at the risk. Let me tell you, we have grown up with girls who look like men. They have muscles, they have masculine bodies. We have boys who look like girls, their voices and what have you, they're walking and what have you. But at the end of the day, these people marry opposite sexes. It is not that the society goes around and condemns you, guy, you look like a woman, you should die. No, we never do that, and we all know that. So because homosexuals, they know that they are evil, they know that they are wrong. For them, they don't want to be called that they are wrong. That's the problem. Now, when they walk around, even a male looking at him, he may immediately think that you have stigmatized him because he has a broken soul. A broken soul leads to self-condemnation. In conclusion, therefore, nature will always find a way to reset itself. You guys are going to force this discussion. You are going to force people to think that homosexuality is okay. And people are going to go around screwing anuses and what have you. And the time is going to come, nature will reset itself. We are going to perish and nature will have to reset itself. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. John Diani. Mr. Baguma, I would love to, I'm going to call you on right after this concluding remarks. You have to allow me to first officially close this meeting and then continue with the discussion. As you're well aware, we post these dialogues, these 2-hour dialogues on the page, on our YouTube page, that is Humora Therapy. So please check YouTube for Humora Therapy to find a record of this discussion or a record of our former discussions. You could also visit our website for those who have interfaced with Keza Psychology Center for the first time at humoratherapy.com, which is a platform for psychosocial support for those who need it, for yourself, for a friend, or it could empower you with information for you to assist a partner, a parent, or a sibling. Today, we are talking about sexual orientation, gender identity in Uganda, because it has been a national conversation for the past 2 weeks, and also its coincidence with the discussion of the anti-gay law in Uganda. Well, I would like to maybe peruse through the most important questions of today. Nature will find a way to reset itself, John Vianney says, and that was one of our panelists, who is a political figure and aspirant. And then we also had Miss Priscilla Atwine, who says, okay, most of these cases have a background of trauma, and it can be fixed, and there is a remedy, even when most of the solutions have not yet presented themselves. Thank you very much, Mr. Priscilla. And then we have Mr. Bwenje Deusdedit. Council, I would like to thank you for your courage. You understand, I would like to thank you for courage and standing for what you believe in. Where you almost touched me was, you will, as long as it is a human being, leave your door open to defend somebody's rights. And I don't know how it feels to be a minority and to be suppressed, but of course, then I would seek solace in knowing that there is somebody who is ready to, stand for me. And I would appreciate you for honoring that, particularly to be willing to stand in for somebody. Mr. Ambassador Andrew raised questions. What is the source of this? Earlier on, I brought up the issue of identity. I would not be so vocal against this if, let's say, if it was us imposing the Western world and the Eastern world, and this was originating from Ugandans. I would love that we impact our culture worldwide. Who doesn't want that? In the past, we had the only way we could have trust in our leaders was if they could go and conquer some neighbors. in a way to assure people that you can keep them safe. Right now, the kind of leadership we need is one that reinstates our identity, protects our beliefs, and gives assurance to the continuity and survival of my kind. So that is what I perceive, and those are the kind of questions that have come in. So today there was a mixed feeling, two sides. Do we follow the rule of God or the rule of man? But even on either, where does individual rights supersede the societal right? And yet we as humans are social beings, that our actions do have impacts on the people next to us. And that remains a dilemma for humanity, but more questions. And that is why we're here. I hope we really picked up something. So I would really love to thank you all. I really love to thank Mr. Bwenje Deus Dedit. I would really like to thank Ms. Priscilla Atwine, once again, John Vianney, and for those who were participating very actively on the front line, of course. Katumwesije Anthony, I would like to thank also Nyakana Amoti, who joined us, and those who chose to be silent today, but have been participating very actively in our former discussions, and those who may have joined us for the first time. We are Keza Psychology Center. The Uganda Youth Dialogues happen every 2 p.m. Friday afternoon. You can always listen in if you're busy at work, you're on your desk. You could simply put a headset in your ear and do your work as you listen in, and maybe participate through the comment section. So for now, I would love to close the session. You will allow me to close the session. Don't worry, Mr. Baguma. You will come right after this remark, because a few of us are going to stay and continue the dialogue. I would like to
contribute a small something, but yeah, in time.
Yeah. Just let me call on somebody to, for the purposes of the record on YouTube, we close this session and then we continue here. I would like to call one of the members, a director of Keza Psychology Center, Mr. Ayebale Edgar, to give a closing remark for this official session, and then we could go on freelance on to another. Thank you very much. Mr. Ayebale. Yes, Ayebale Edgar, I hope you're close to your device. If you're not close to your device, I could call on Mr. Manzi Munanura.
Have they all gone?
It's okay. Thank you very much, Eric. I think we can first have an opinion from Mr. Baguma before I can give concluding remarks.
Okay, Mr. Baguma, please.
Oh, thank you. I just wanted to say it's very I'm very happy to be a part of this. Although I joined late, I think this is an important conversation to be had, and especially in concerns to Uganda. I'm based in the UK. One of the things, I live the lifestyle. I'm among very many different types of people, and I work with very many different types of people. So, there's pros and cons, but one thing that gets me is, and I really would not like to see, is some culture, some behaviors being brought into Uganda, because I see Ugandans as very, I wouldn't say even innocent, but I don't have a word in English to say it, but when I see
pure
our people in Uganda, I see very, very how can I say, I wouldn't say innocent, I don't want to say the word innocent, but I can't find the word, but I would not like to see certain behaviors being transported into Africa at all, so I think this is an important conversation to be had. And as much as people might be promoting homosexuality, I think it's important to just educate people fully on the whole, every side, both sides, if you know what I'm saying, and not to take sides at the same time. I won't go on any further. Probably I would add one thing. Well, actually, no, I won't go on any further, because if I think the professor, he let me go ahead to say what I had to say. So thank you for that time, and yeah, just I'll close on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Baguma. We thank you for joining the Uganda Youth Dialogues. We always have them same time every Friday from 2 to 4. I would like to thank everyone for participating and coming through today. I've shared a link to our WhatsApp group where you can find more information about us and the kind of discussions that are subsequent in our dialogues. So I would like to thank everyone for participating today and taking note of the many questions that have been asked. That what do we do after this? Yeah, we usually get these recordings and we post them on Homora Therapy, but it also helps us to contribute to informed decisions in policy. And if that's what we'll
You're breaking up. Hello?
up to having a significant number of youth that can contribute to a dialogue in the comment section, that we could contribute to policy. We could write a policy brief, for example, have a percentile of this discussion and say, you know what, according to a discussion that the youth dialogue had on this and this day, we came up with this picture of what it is in Uganda, what they say for the youth is in Uganda. Because if we've come out to have opinions aired out and other youth have not, we are representative of them. If we brought this as a percentage right now and said we had a discussion and maybe 80%, 90% of the youth think that this is a very bad vice and we should not be passing any bill to let it pass, to let this kind of vice go on. So that's the kind of conversation we're looking at. We don't only have this discussion for the sake of having it, but to sharpen our minds, share opinions, share experiences, and also further our thoughts beyond an ordinary youth out there who cannot even sustain a meaningful conversation for 1-2 minutes. So I want to thank you all for always coming through for these dialogues and sparing your time and data and you know, having this kind of discussion with us. It's something we look up to having more often every Friday, and we look forward to also having physical sessions where we can have these talks recorded very well, and yeah, I'm sure we'll get to the next level of this. So thank you very much, and I hope to see you in the next dialogues. There is a WhatsApp link in the comment section. You can tap it and join our WhatsApp group. You can always continue with the conversation there. Thank you very much.